Are you troubled by geeky thoughts in the middle of the night?
Are you experiencing feelings of emptiness in your computer or cell phone?
Have you or anyone in your family ever enjoyed the Ghostbusters, reviews of the Ghostbusters, or laughing?
If the answer is yes, don't wait another minute. Get online and watch or listen to the professionals.
Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Geek.
Our newest and efficient podcast is now active 24 hours to serve all your Ghostbusters informational needs.
We're ready to be listened to.
Loop and Larry.
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Yeah!
Boom!
Woo!
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
You know, everyone loves a good explosion. Every
Exactly.
week.
And you know who loves explosions more than anybody?
Who's that?
The Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters!
They do.
Hey, everybody, I am Loop,
And I'm Larry.
and this is Guardians of Geek, and this is like an old Ghostbusters episode.
Yep. We can't get enough of the Ghostbusters. We are literally like Ghostbuster obsessed.
We
here.
are Ghostbusters obsessed.
Yeah.
Like the new movie, we just came out this past weekend, and
Yeah.
we both have seen the movie. And I have to say, it was pretty exciting. I did enjoy going, but we're going to get into that. In our pop capacitor today, we're going to look at the spawned off cartoons, the animated versions that we would have watched in the 80s, around 86. Of the movie. So let's get into the actual Afterlife. We're not going to do anything else today because this will be enough. That's all we can handle in one episode. It's just the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we can't. Once we do all the Ghostbuster stuff, we just get exhausted.
Yeah, we're done. We're ready for bed.
Yeah, we can't function anymore. So it's Ghostbusters and that's it. So that's all you get today.
That's all you're getting. So the movie came out. It was the Afterlife. It was the #1 movie over the weekend. It made $44 million on the weekend, which apparently they thought it was only going to make like 29 million.
I don't know how they didn't anticipate this thing being so big.
I think they just thought because it almost came out last year and it didn't. And I don't know. You know, sometimes they just bury movies. Sometimes like they're not really sure where to put them. If it's on the pace, they say it'll make over 100 million for sure if it stays the same pace.
It deserves it. I gotta tell you. Yeah. I've been so excited about because this is one of those movies that was delayed because of COVID. So it was coming out, then it wasn't coming out, and it was, and it wasn't. And it was one of the movies that was on the top of my list. Like I've been anticipating this movie for a long time, and I've been so excited. So when it finally was happening, all I kept thinking to myself is, please don't let the COVID numbers go up and theaters shut down again because we're really close. I really want to see this thing.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped for it. Like the thing I liked about this one right off the top is that it's an actual like sequel to the originals. And I think, and I know everyone blasts the all-female version of the Ghostbusters. I wanted that one to succeed. I liked that cast as killer. In that movie, I thought the movie wasn't bad, but it wasn't. It was like a reboot, and it was. I don't know why they didn't make that a sequel.
I don't know.
If that had been a sequel and the Ghostbusters would have been in it in some capacity, I think that could have made other sequels. But they dropped the ball on that movie for whatever reason.
They did, and I actually liked the movie. I've seen it a few times now.
Yeah, so have I. I thought it was good.
I actually, as a standalone movie, I thought it was good. The cast was really funny. I thought it was good. The problem was that all of the surviving cast members were in it. Bill Murray, now I can't remember any of the other
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. They were all in it. But they didn't play Ghostbusters. They played different characters. And I thought, why would they, like, if they're gonna reboot it, just either make them Ghostbusters or don't put them in it.
Yeah.
Like, why put them in it as somebody else? Like, it just seemed very odd to me.
I'm wondering if when they were making it, they couldn't get any of them to like, to say that they're good, like, to, what do you call it? Commit to it. Yeah, like if they couldn't commit to it, then maybe they wrote it in that way because they're like, well, if we can't get these guys to commit, there's no point in writing it as a sequel. It's better to write it as just a standalone kind of thing. But
maybe
I don't know.
I don't know what it was, but I mean, it was a shame because I think that cast could have done funny things. Like if they had made it, if it had been popular, and if it had succeeded, it would have been a great franchise. But they just didn't. They just weren't really thinking.
Yeah, I don't know what that just. It was just another, like, it was a strike against it, but I thought that cast was killer. So I don't know why. Yeah. Like, I don't know how it didn't succeed, but I think that's part of the reason why, because it wasn't a direct sequel. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Afterlife.
That's right. which by the way, completely ignores that movie. Like, there's no reference at all to the female-led Ghostbusters. So if you didn't like that movie, if you didn't whatever, they've totally retconned that whole thing.
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah. So that's nice. So this is a direct sequel to Ghostbusters 1 and 2. We can call it Ghostbusters 3. How about that?
Yeah, it is pretty much it is a Ghostbusters 3, really. So this is where it gets weird, because I've seen a fair amount of good reviews on it, and I've seen some not so good reviews. Yes. And it got 62% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's crazy.
But it got a 96% audience score. And that's over 2,500 like reviews. So I mean, like, obviously people are going to see it, and they like it. Like 96% of like 2,500 that's a good amount of like of scores to go by.
I feel like critics lately, well, in the last few years, are criticizing movies based on maybe technical aspects of it, or I mean, they're not. I don't think critics are looking at movies the way the directors are intending them to be. So, like, this movie is a full fan service movie. Like, it's done.
Yeah, and that was some of the problems people had with it.
Yeah, but for like diehard fans, I just found it like he nailed everything. I just thought it was so well done. And I mean, there were some quirky things in it, but overall, I think I think the critics are being too critical, because it's not an Oscar worthy movie. So go into it knowing that it's made for the fans, like, and recognize the good qualities that this thing has. Like, I'm starting to really not listen to critic reviews anymore. I'm really paying more attention to the audience reviews, because the movies are made for the audiences. They're not made for critics, So
yeah, I think part of it was too, sometimes I feel the critics come into it not wanting to like it for whatever reason. They've already got a hate on for it before they even put like pen to paper, right? So and I think this movie, you cannot do this movie, especially with a new generation of people, without giving it some fan service, right? Like, that's what's part of the draw. Is if I went in there and didn't see any of that, I'd be like, this is terrible. So I think they did the right amount. And I also think they had a really original story, like to bring it all together. And I really enjoyed that. Like, I thought it was like, okay, this is different. This is not the same thing as I've seen before. And it did it in just the right way and just the right amount of nostalgia that I thought it was a perfect blend.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, they obviously introduced a new cast. Like, I don't know how spoilery we're gonna get, because we
can get spoilery, because no one's gonna listen to it unless they've seen it. So
there's watching. Okay,
so otherwise we have nothing to talk about.
Well, that's right. Yes. Okay, so be prepared for some spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. So it is a brand new cast, and first of all, I think the cast is fantastic.
Yeah,
they were really well chosen. The kids in here. The main character plays Phoebe Spangler, who's Egon Spangler's granddaughter. That's sort of how this is going. So it's not like teenagers who they're handing off the proton packs to the teenagers to become the new generation. This is all in the family. So, but it's all, like, most of the movie is Phoebe Spangler and her mother sort of discovering who Egon Spangler was. And who the Ghostbusters were, because they didn't even at the beginning of the movie, they don't even realize that they're part of this whole legacy of Ghostbusters. So it's really finding out who he was and what he was about. And so there's this really nice family feel too with it, that felt good. And I mean, and really it is, the whole movie is about Egon. Like it's about Ivan Reitman. It's a tribute. It literally is a tribute movie to Ivan Reitman, or not Ivan Reitman. Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, yeah.
Harold Ramis, who played Spangler. So it's a tribute movie to him, and so they pay him tribute through the whole movie, and that was cool. Like,
and I enjoyed too, like how the family inherits his house. They get there, and then they gradually discover different aspects of his backstory that they didn't know. Like the kids didn't know he was a Ghostbuster, and the Ghostbusters are sort of a thing almost of the past. Like they were, hot in the 80s, and now people have almost forgotten about him in a way. Like there's, they know little bits and pieces and things like that. But I love how she just gradually discovers the equipment, and then they discover the car, but they don't really know how it all connects. They don't know why until later. I love that.
Yeah, I think that was really cool. But it also, like, it's modern. Like it takes place now. So when you do finally see the original Ghostbusters, Ernie Hudson and Bill Murray and all of those guys, you see what's become of them. Like ghostbusting is long gone for all of them. So it makes sense that the kids would have no idea really what ghostbusting was, because it's done. Like it's been done for years. So it's not like they've been living under a rock and they just haven't seen what Ghostbusters are. Like everybody is back in, like Ray is back in his Ray's occult bookshop, and he's just selling books, and it's just
I love too how you don't really see the other Ghostbusters. You see Ray at one point, because she has a number and she calls it and it happens to be him, but you don't see the others like at all until the end. And I love that. Like I just love in this how you discover, as they discover everything, you discover it, and where it's kind of going, but you're sort of like enjoying their discovery of like that. Like the car had that like cool seat that kind of came out with the gun, like seat. Like the gunner seat, like that was cool. Like I love that. Like they're like, what is this? And then they're discovering it. So cool.
Yeah, I totally think so. So one of the things I love, I love the movie, but we saw it in the theater. Now the theaters are back to like full capacity and all of that. So we were sitting in the theater, and right behind us were two kids. They must have been maybe 10 or 12 years old. They were pretty young, but they were really enthusiastic about it. And for a while I was a little annoyed because they kept sort of talking through it.
Oh yeah.
As kids do. But then there's this whole sequence in the movie where they finally fix up Ecto-1 and they take it for like a joyride, and it's like going through the fields, and at one point it jumps over a ramp or kind of a mound and it lands, and the two kids behind me went ballistic. They were like, oh, that was so cool. Yeah, that was so, and it totally brought me back to like 1984 when we watched Ghostbusters, and we were like 13 years old and felt the same way. And I was like, that's what Ghostbusters makes you feel like.
Yeah.
And it
makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good.
It does make you feel good.
It does. So those kids behind me getting so excited at like a new generation, getting so into how cool this was. I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah, there's just so many parts in it that I just like the first time they catch the first ghost, like, all these things. I just thought it was like so cool in it. I love Paul Rudd was great in it as well.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal in it, and the mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. Oh my god, that made me laugh so hard.
Yeah. Because that was really iffy, because they could have been like gone off the rails with those and been too cute and become annoying. Do you know what I mean? Like that was like, I was like, how are they going to take this? Because those could be really obnoxious little things, but they weren't. They were almost like, it was almost like watching Gremlins. Remember the movie Gremlins?
Yeah, no, it totally had a Gremlins feel for sure.
Yeah, they felt like Gremlins because they were doing like really vicious things and smiling and being all happy about being destroyed and torn up and melted and stuff. It was just so funny.
No, that part was like, it was just enough of them.
Yes.
They kind of brought them back at the end, but it was just enough of those that it wasn't too much. Like
that's right.
There's just so many like cool scenes in it, and they brought it back to the first movie. And then we got to talk about like I was like in tears at the end
Yeah.
Like I was my eye, like I could not. I was like just like streaming with tears.
Wow.
Well,
I wasn't quite that bad, but
I was bad. Because
Yeah.
well, you had warned me because you saw it a day before me.
Yeah.
And you said bring the hanky or whatever,
Yeah.
which no one has ever said since 1973. Bring the hanky.
I want to use the word hanky.
I don't know why, but so I was prepared going in that I was going to cry, and I was like, just as soon as you saw Spengler like in it as a ghost,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm out. And then when you saw that, when they first pan up and you see the the original Ghostbusters all in their uniforms, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah.
And then when they pan the three of them and Spengler's with them, oh my God, that ghost looked phenomenal. By the way,
it was amazing. It was like what they did with Carrie Fisher in Rogue One. Remember right at the end of Rogue One when you saw like the really young Carrie Fisher looking exactly like her. I feel like this is what they've done. They've gotten old footage and they've digitized it, because that was Harold. I mean, he wasn't credited, I don't think, in the thing, but that was Harold. Like it was him. Like the ghost was Harold Ramis, and what I thought was really cool about it is that he doesn't speak. Like he has no lines, because obviously he couldn't record anything, and they, and it would have maybe been awkward. I guess they probably could have gone back and looked for lines from the past and just reused them, but
or from SCTV.
Yes, exactly.
They could have got some SCTV lines of him playing Mo Green on Dialing for Dollars, and maybe they could have done something with that.
But I just thought it was better that he didn't say anything. Like he was a ghost.
It was way more powerful with him not saying anything, and it's all in his actions rather than him having a big speech or something. I thought it was great.
Just the way he looked, like because he looked kind of a little bit sad, but happy to see his granddaughter and happy to be back with the other three. And just the way the other three Ghostbusters sort of looked over and then saw him standing there.
Oh God, like, don't even start it.
Punch me in the gut a little bit more, would you?
So good. The I thought the other three were fine. They were good. Bill Murray, of course, always brings the awkwardness whenever he does a role. I always find Bill Murray incredibly awkward. I don't know why. Like he's got a weird delivery, like when he says things, and it comes across almost like he doesn't want to be in anything that he's in. Yeah, like he's just kind of going for the ride. Like I don't know what it is about Bill Murray, but I kind of feel like that is the case. I kind of feel like he's like no matter what movie he's in, I feel like he's always like that. Like
whatever. I'm just here. I'm just doing my thing. Whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's just like hey, just hanging out. But
but who was really good was Ray, like the Dan Aykroyd. I thought he was really, really good. I mean, Ernie Hudson was awesome too. So the other thing I wanted to mention before I forget it is that they are really playing up Ernie Hudson. Like he's finally getting his due, because he was sort of like the fourth Ghostbuster. Like he was a sort of an add-on in the original movies. He didn't really have a big role. He was there and whatever. But now it's going to be all Ernie Hudson, which is awesome, because I think he's one of my favorite characters in all of the Ghostbusters movies. And finally, like he's gonna get his big moment in the spotlight, which is awesome. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, and Ray was great. Like he played, because at first I thought he's kind of overacting a bit, but then I realized when you look back at the old ones, he's kind of goofy. Like because I had watched the two prior going into this, just so I refreshed myself on Ghostbusters. I will put this Ghostbusters above Ghostbusters 2.
Oh yeah, I think so. I mean, I really like Ghostbusters 2 just for the nostalgia. I mean, it's not the best movie. But this one I think is probably just a slight bit above it. I was a little bit surprised though that they somehow didn't, and I don't know how they would have done this, but like virtually everybody who's been in the Ghostbusters movies was in this one. Even Sigourney Weaver made a cameo in a post-credit scene. And so everybody's in here except for the little dude who Rick Moranis was not in this.
Yeah, which surprised me, but I mean that's but then they can always bring him back for another one if they needed to.
Well, and he is retired. Like he's actually said, I'm retired from this, so he might not. But I kind of thought that they might have brought in the guy from Ghostbusters 2, the little guy with the accent, who, you know what I mean, who ran the music, who was like the museum.
Oh, I'm like, yeah, I know who you mean.
I can't remember his name, but I
feel
kind
like
of thought
it's Peter something. I feel like
yes, that's Peter. Yeah. However, I do remember reading that he does not like that role. Like he was almost embarrassed by that role because
okay.
he was a serious actor, and he comes across as kind of a like a doofus in that movie. So I think he sort of disavowed that role. So maybe that's why he's not back in it. But I was kind of hoping to see him again. I liked him in that role.
There's also in this too. There was some good just like the nostalgia portion, but the like little callbacks to the other movies that I noticed. Like right away when they go in the house and the books are stacked, just like they were in the library. I'm like, okay, this is like there's a lot of little things here that to look out for in the backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
And did you notice too?
The Twinkie in the glove compartment.
Oh yeah,
Twinkie, yeah.
The Twinkie was there, and I also noticed that the movie theater was playing Cannibal Girls.
Oh no, I didn't notice that.
Which it was also playing in I think Ghostbusters 1 or 2. I can't remember which one. With Harold Ramis's SCTV, Eugene Levy and Andrew Martin, and they were both in that movie because it's just like this low budget horror movie from Canada, and so but that was up on the marquee when they were in town. I was I started laughing. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's so fun. I feel like this is the other thing with this movie is that you can watch it a couple of times and pick up on things that you didn't see before. Because I totally missed that. Yeah. So I'm sure that there are lots of other like Easter eggs that are in there. The one thing I did before I forget, the one thing I noticed, and I have to watch it again. But right off the beginning, there was they opened one of the traps, and I was listening to the sound effect. And I am sure that they put in the sound effect of Star Wars blasters, like the sound of the blaster from Star Wars. I like as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a Star Wars blaster. I feel like that. So if you watch the movie again, listen carefully to the sound effects because I think that they did stuff like that. I'm sure I heard the blaster sound when they opened that up.
Oh, that's cool.
Really cool.
Obviously, if you've been listening, you obviously know that we love the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great sequel. Was there anything, Larry, that you thought was a miss in this movie? I've got one.
Okay, why don't you start? Because I really don't like. To me, it was just such a good feel. I didn't really pick anything apart. But go ahead.
Okay, so this is the only miss I thought in the movie. People tend to disappear in it. Like, did you notice like when he was in the Walmart, there was a ton of people, or there was people in it. When as soon as things started happening, suddenly the Walmart was almost empty, and the parking lot was like when Paul Rudd was in there. All of a sudden, the parking lot has like 2 cars in it. When he comes running out, like is he the only person in this Walmart all of a sudden? Like everybody else disappeared.
I guess the only way to explain that is that they'd been through this whole like New York attack thing by that point. So maybe people were like the first sign of ghostly action, they're like they're out.
But it happened again later. Well, first it happened kind of in the chase scene with the ghost. There was people in it, but later on they went to the police station when they got back their packs and stuff. Oh yeah, there was nobody in the police station. There was nobody on the streets. I'm like, where did all these people go? Like they all disappeared. Like are they in their homes? Or are they just like gone? Like I didn't understand why they were all missing. Like it was kind of weird. Like that was the only thing in it. It was just a small thing, but I just thought like, where are all the people? Like where did the people of this? And why does a town that small have a Walmart? That was my other question. That was my only other question because that Walmart parking lot was massive, and I'm like, this looks like such a small little like small town, like with nobody in it, but it has a full size Walmart for whatever reason.
maybe the disappearance was a Easter egg to the to the next movie. Maybe the next movie is there's like Gozer comes and like is like vaporizing people and taking them away. And, like, and then you go back and watch this one and be like, oh, that's where all the people went, to Gozer.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was just like I noticed it. And then my brother-in-law brought it up as well, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like it was like there's just nobody there. Like it just suddenly everybody in the town was gone because the police cars had their doors open and like it was just they were just gone. But yeah, that Walmart made me laugh because I was like, this is a completely like small, like puny town. It's got its own Walmart. It's like, Walmarts are everywhere apparently.
They really are. And they also pay a lot of money to be in a movie, I guess.
Yes, that would be the other thing. It's probably more the reason why they're in it. But yeah, anyways, I thought this movie was phenomenal. Like I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I'd say it's on the scale of perfection, like as far as like a sequel and just an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it's been 30 plus years or almost 40 years kind of,
Yeah.
that they still were able to get it right. I mean, we've seen other movies that haven't. For example, I don't know, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about the Matrix. I'm gonna put that out there right now, but we'll see how it goes.
I like the trailer for that one. I'm just, I'm not 100%.
Though
so,
2 and 3 weren't my favorites, so we'll see how this is. Yeah.
But so yeah, it's hard to bring back a movie and give it fan service, but this one totally did. I'm in it 100%.
Yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go from here. Like, I don't know if the next one will have the magic of that this one sort of had. Like, it was kind of lightning in a bottle to me, like the way they did it. But I think because it had that small town feel around it and everything. Yes. Like, I don't know what they do with the next one, but
I mean, from the post-credit scene, from the scene right at the end, it looks like Ernie Hudson's Winston is gonna finance the Ghostbusters again, and they're gonna bring back the fire hall, and the car, like Ecto-1 is back in New York, so it looks like the next one's actually back in New York, and the fire hall might be back. Like, I feel like they're bringing it back. I don't know how they're gonna do that, because the Ghostbusters are getting older. I don't think
unless they're gonna bring in that new cast, but like that podcast was just a kid. I don't know where his parents were the whole movie when he was in jail, by the way. It's another thing I just want to mention. He's in jail. There's like, there's not a sign of his parents anywhere. I don't know where he came from or who he lived with or whatever.
That's true.
Because like her parents came to pick him up, but apparently he doesn't have anybody to come get him. But
doesn't matter.
Hey, it doesn't matter,
The only other one thing I want to mention is Mckenna Grace, who plays Phoebe Spengler, who's the star of this. She's 15, and if you stay right through the credits, there's a song that plays through the credits called "Haunted House." Yeah, she sings it.
Oh wow!
She's also a recording artist. So she's got quite a future.
I got to say, she was a highlight for me in that movie. Like, she was so, like, her character was so good that she was like very endearing throughout the movie. So
she was, and it could have gone the other way. So she really pulled that up. She definitely was Spengler's granddaughter.
Oh, like, for sure.
She was just like him. Yeah.
She was really good.
Jason Reitman learned a lot from his father, and I feel like his father would have been very proud of what he did with this franchise.
Yeah, no, it was phenomenal. So if you haven't seen it and you've watched this whole thing and know everything that's going to happen because we spoiled it, go see it. Go see it for reals.
Speaking of reels,
yes.
What about those real Ghostbusters?
We go back? Do you want to do pop capacitor?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
From the hit movie, The Real Ghostbusters. Together, Saturdays, this fall on ABC.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I think you better call.
So that was the Ghostbusters promo for The Real Ghostbusters, a spinoff or it's almost sequel of the Ghostbusters. It's an animated show that we would have watched in the 80s, Larry, on Pop Capacitor here. So we're going to take a look at it, talk about it, and see if it still stands up, because there was a lot in this time period in the 80s of versions of popular things, whether it was a video game like Hubert or whatever it was, like Pac-Man, or other shows. Like they did a lot of like kind of TV version spin-offs of a lot of popular movies and shows at that time. So Real Ghostbusters right in the pack of that. And I'd say 90% of the time it was to sell toys.
I'd say at least
generally. Yeah. So this was I guess like a loose spin-off or sequel of the original Ghostbusters movie. It ran from September 13th, 86 to October 5th, 1991. There's 147 episodes. It's 7 seasons long. It was produced by Columbia Pictures Television and Geek Enterprises, and of course Geek, if it's like DIC, but it's pronounced Geek. Not what you think.
That is good. You know what? I've never known that. I've always
get your head out of the gutter on that.
Always, my whole life.
I know, that's what I always thought it was too, but it's actually pronounced Geek. the which also did Inspector Gadget, Care Bears, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, the show Mask, Elf, like the cartoon,
God, yeah.
the Super Dave Osborne cartoon, which I
I
barely
remember
remember, Cops,
Yeah.
and there's another GI Joe spinoff. They did that as well.
Okay.
And Camp Candy. Do you remember that show?
Oh,
It was like John
with
Candy.
John Candy.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
I think
Totally
we need to
forgot
we
about
need to do that one for a
yes
for a pop capacitor, because I remember it, but I don't remember
Yeah.
like now that he's such a legend. I'd love to go back and revisit that.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
cartoon.
We'll put that one on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So so this one was in the fourth season, it was renamed Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. So
Because really, it was all about Slimer.
people love Slimer. I don't know
Yeah.
how Slimer became such a popular character, but he was. I can see they needed to add something like that. I think in a show
Yes.
like this, just to capture more of the kids. No one wants to see adult looking cartoon characters. They want to see like goofy ghosts. So
And that's
Slimer
the
was
thing,
perfect.
Yeah, Slimer could do anything. He could go anywhere. He could do, I mean, they would not have had a series, I don't think, if they hadn't spun off Slimer into his own thing.
he also ate everything as well.
He did.
That's what Slimer did. So also around the same time, about a few days before, Filmation put out Ghostbusters, which is the series that is based on I think it was like 57. Yeah, 75. 1975, 15 episode show.
Like a live action TV show.
A live action sort of Ghostbusters show. It had nothing to do with the movie or a concept or anything, but it was two guys and a gorilla that like went around looking for ghosts. Which I did actually go back and watch an episode of it.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah,
the original, and it's very bizarre, kind of goofy, almost what are those guys? Sid and Marty Croftish.
Yes,
that's tiny bit.
What I always thought it was, but it's not. I don't think it is. But that's
I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
So when the Ghostbusters movie came out, in order to call it Ghostbusters, they had to get the rights from this other show because they own the rights to it. So I remember I saw a clip recently where the Ghostbusters were filming the commercial that they had in the movie, the original movie.
Oh,
and they had all the different names that they could have possibly called the movie, like Ghost Blasters. It's like called Ghost Blasters. It was pretty funny. So, because they didn't know what they were going to call it, because this was still up like in the courts, whether they were going to, and they're still working on this deal to get the Ghostbusters name. So they couldn't make another Ghostbusters cartoon. This one's based directly on that original show from Filmation. So the original, but it's totally different show. But they're on at the same time, which made it very confusing as kids.
Yes.
Why is this one so different? Why does this one have a gorilla and this other one is more like the movie?
Yeah, and the only difference was in the title was the word real. So there was Ghostbusters, and then there was the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
which in fact, the other Ghostbusters were the Real Ghostbusters because they came first. But
whatever, right? I feel like couldn't quite find the details, but I feel like they had to call it the Real Ghostbusters because the deal wasn't for the animation. I kind of read that. So it was only for the Ghostbusters movies, and it didn't apply to anything past that. So and of course, like the toys and the movies and the comics and everything else that came from the Ghostbusters movie, and they were all called Real Ghostbusters.
Yes,
more based on this particular series. So we're gonna do a hit and miss on this. It's a half-hour show, so it shouldn't take us too long to get through it.
Nope.
But but it's funny because I totally remember this cartoon, and I remember watching it here and there. I didn't watch all 7 seasons, mind you. Like I don't even think I even got to the Slimer part of it, but because we would have been in '89 at that point, probably when that.
I feel like I remember when it became the Slimer Comedy Hour or whatever it was called.
But Comedy Hour.
but I do remember that. But yeah, I don't think we would have stuck with it by that point.
Yeah,
but
I think we were kind of like almost like the end of the. I would even feel like ABC and CBS and NBC were almost at the end of the Saturday morning cartoons, almost at that point, or at least in the range of it.
Yeah, they would have been pretty close. So yeah, but I definitely do remember watching both of these series. I remember watching the Ghostbusters, definitely because it had a catchy theme song.
Yeah,
let's go Ghostbusters, let's go.
Oh yeah, that's right. And it actually, I did watch it as well, and it's actually a decent series on its own. Like it's fine. So, it's just confusing.
It's confusing. I have to say, and this is going to sound a little sacrilegious, I feel like the Ghostbusters, based on the 1975, is actually a better show than the Real Ghostbusters. I know I hated myself for thinking that, but
What?
I I actually think if you watch the two, oh, and Loop's out. I know I've just totally destroyed this whole podcast. This whole
No,
thing.
it's fair. It's like I'm just not a big fan of apes. I'm just
I know.
like
Well, so okay, but we'll get into our hits. So what we did was we watched the pilot episode of both of these shows. So
Yeah.
that's all we're going to talk about is just the pilot episode of the Real Ghostbusters and the pilot episode of Ghostbusters. We'll give us our hits and misses, and then I'll explain why I think the other one is better. But so let's jump right into the Real Ghostbusters because that's the most important one right here.
It is.
Yeah. So right off the top, I got to say, we were talking about how these were 90% of these shows were made to sell toys.
Yes.
The pilot episode is called Ghosts Are Us. So I mean, and it's literally with the letter R. Like there's no doubt that that's what they're doing. And also midway through the episode, you see Ray and Egon sleeping in their bedroom, and Ray is sleeping with a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man toy. Like he's actually like got a little mini like stuffed animal kind of Stay Puft. I'm like, you're selling a toy within this cartoon that's about
a toy within the toy.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's all this was for. Yeah. So I thought that was actually pretty funny. But that was actually a hit for me that they did that.
One of my hits is that, and this one is that they use the actual Ghostbusters theme.
Yes.
Which I thought was cool. And I thought the music in the episode, I don't know if this is through the whole thing, but is very similar to the music they would have played in the movie. So it really had a Ghostbusters feel to it. I thought it was really cool how they were able to license certain music and have that in it. Because without the Ghostbusters theme, to me, it's not Ghostbusters unless you use that theme song. Like that's an iconic theme song for sure.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. That's what made it. Like it really was a continuation of the movies. So one of the misses for me was that, I mean, we had by that point we had seen both of the movies, so we know their history and their backstory and whatever, but they just jumped right into this show. Like there was no transition between the movies and the show. They literally just like right off the top there was a ghost that they had to get, and it just went right into the show. So there was I was kind of hoping for a little bit of like not recap but just reference to the movies, but there really wasn't any other than the characters. There wasn't any reference to what they actually did in the movies. They just kind of just jumped right into it, just assumed you had seen the movies and you're off to the races.
I kind of assumed that the opener sort of like set it up, because I like back then, like the opener would tell a lot of the story and kind of do all the setup. So if you've never seen it before, you could go, okay, I know what this is about. I think it kind of did that, but I understand what you're saying. Like there's like no like sort of like origin story, like to kind of set up this whole series. Yeah,
or even just reference to like we finally got that Stay Puft guy, or we, you know what I mean, or something along those lines. In fact, at one point they actually re-kill the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in this episode. Like they had blown it up at the end of Ghostbusters. It was destroyed, or Ghostbusters 1, but in this episode, the pilot episode, he was back and they had to like proton pack him again. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a little bit of continuity error here.
That's why I say it's, I don't know, I think it's a pretty loose sequel. Like it's like but you got to have the Stay Puft in there, if you can.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, they were paying fan service to, like, it had been 2 years or so, or a couple of years. When did Ghostbusters 2 come out? Was it like 86?
I feel like it was,
or was it 89?
No, I feel like it was quicker. I feel like it was 86 or 7.
Okay, so it would have been right around the time of this. I can't, we should have looked this up. I don't know whether Ghostbusters 2 came out before or after this movie. So if this movie was just, you want to do a quick search for that?
Yeah, let's do it right now.
All right, just do a quick search. I feel like Ghostbusters 2 came out after this cartoon. So that means that this cartoon is only based on
The first one?
Yeah, that's my take on it. But
All right, here we go.
Okay,
Guess we're doing a search during the show.
Yeah.
1989 it came out.
It
So
was
you're right.
89.
Yeah, it was 89. I feel
Okay,
like it was earlier than that, but maybe not. Okay.
No, so this TV show was only based on the first movie. So that's kind of interesting. So it had been 2 years then since the first movie when this came out. So they were just paying fan service by putting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man back in.
One of my hits in this was the fact that the characters were all kind of the same as the characters in the actual like movie, so they kind of kept that sort of like team. They didn't like have 3 of them and then suddenly have like someone else, like someone weird as the 4th Ghostbuster, which quite often they'll do. Like I remember when they did the Fantastic Four cartoon back in like the early 80s, they had like 3 of them, but they didn't put Human Torch in there, probably because they didn't want to promote people being on fire or something.
Right.
So then they had like this like the robot with them. It just wasn't the same. Like you gotta have the team. Like you can't just have part of them and hope we don't notice like a certain member is missing. So I liked how they did all that, and I thought the voice work was pretty good in it. Like I thought it was Peter was a little weird.
Well, so here was this was actually a miss for me.
Okay.
The voice work, you're right, was generally really good, except for Peter. And the only reason that Peter stood out to me is because it's the same guy who voiced Garfield in the Garfield cartoon,
it is too.
which was out around the same time. So, and that Garfield has a really distinctive voice. Like the voice actor had a really distinctive voice. So as soon as I heard Peter with that voice, I was like, what? Why do they choose I mean, he kind of sounds a little bit like Bill Murray, I guess, but
yeah, they were trying to get his cadence down, I think, in it. So
yeah, but it was it was Garfield.
Yeah. Well, Dave Coulier took over for seasons 3 to 7. So I'd like to hear what his voice work was like on it. So he took over for Peter after this guy was done in the first 3 seasons.
Did Dave Coulier do the voice of Slimer? Who was the voice?
I'm not sure who the voice of Slimer was in it.
It's another one of those voice like 80s, like the Shmoo, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it totally had that sound to it.
Yeah, it was very 80s sounding voice work.
Yeah, well, I also read that Ernie Hudson tried out for the part of his own part. Like he tried out for Winston and didn't get it.
What? See, now that doesn't make any sense to me. Why?
I don't know why. I can't remember. There was some sort of reason why they didn't want the Ghostbusters to 100% look like the actors, because maybe they have to pay them or something if their likeness was too much like them, or so they're kind of look like them but not 100%. And it was actually Arsenio Hall that got the part, so he did the voice of Winston for the first 3 seasons at least. So
interesting. Okay, well, he wasn't bad. His voice, that voice was actually pretty good.
Yeah, and it was fine. Like I just thought it was funny the person that actued did the part didn't get it their own part.
And the person who voiced Ray's voice, Dan Aykroyd, was almost bang on.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who that actor was, but that voice was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. Like but yeah, the characters I thought worked out really well the way they did them. And the secretary was good too.
Yep, she was all right. Yep, she was pretty close.
It's just basically kind of like a New York accent essentially, but it still worked out really well. One of my I'll go to a miss unless you have one.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Like I got one of my misses is I thought the animation was all over in that show. Like there was almost like there was 2 different things. Like there was the animation for the Ghostbusters, which looked fine. Like it was kind of like that. I don't want to say it's like kind of like Geek sort of animation, but if you watch other shows of theirs, it has that sort of look.
Yes. Where mouths don't quite move in time to the
but even the structure of their faces and stuff had that sort of look. So there was that, which looked fine. But then I thought the ghosts all had a real like Ralph Bakshi look to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're kind of like almost like half drawn. Like they weren't like they were kind of like almost like a different animator did the ghosts than did the actual like rest of the series.
Yeah, I think you're right. They did kind of it wasn't consistent. Like it was a bit of it was almost like a little bit of a mess. It was a strange animated style that they chose with this thing.
I thought especially for the ghosts, like the ghosts reminded me a little bit too of the style of like Schoolhouse Rock. Like like if you look at them, they're just more sketchy. Like it's like I mean like literally sketchy looking, not sketchy as in like you're not sure what's going on with them, but they look like like just a lot different than the other animation did. The other animation was a lot more crisp. Theirs was just very, totally like very Ralph Bakshi sort of like animation style. Like,
I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but I noticed that too. I was kind of surprised about that, but it was definitely a distinctive 80s style look. I've got a hit.
Okay,
I got another hit.
Let's bring the hit.
The hit was that they added a new vehicle. So because the Ecto one was so iconic.
Yep.
And then in this show, the back of the Ecto one folds down, and out of the back of it rolls a helicopter.
That's right. Yeah, they have the helicopter in this one.
Which they refer to as Ecto 2, which I thought was really interesting because Ecto 2 is in Ghostbusters 2. Like the car that they redid for Ghostbusters 2, the license plate says Ecto 2, but Ghostbusters 2 hadn't come out yet. So so they had like a little chopper, like a little single person chopper, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like they're adding more to the arsenal of the Ghostbusters with giving Nick a new vehicle with new weapon and stuff like that. And I thought that was, as a kid, I would have been like, oh, cool, a new Ghostbusters vehicle. So I thought that was kind of neat that they had done that.
The one of my misses was that the like the Sigourney Weaver character is not even seen in this. Like it's like they sort of just like ignored, like it's very male heavy, this show.
It's totally except for the secretary, the Annie Potts character. It's just Ghostbusters and the ghosts. So that's very true. I had one more miss. Nobody, so in this particular episode, 3 ghosts decide to take down the Ghostbusters by becoming their own ghost squad. Like ghost
that's right.
Squad. And so there's 3 of them, so one of them becomes like the ghost that's like haunting a place, and then the other 2 go in and catch him, but they always arrive just before the Ghostbusters, and they catch the ghosts, so that the people are like, yay, this is great. So the problem is that the ghosts look so like freaky, like they totally look like ghosts, and yet nobody in New York like bats an eye that these freaky looking creatures
might be ghosts.
It might be ghosts, even though like New York was just terrorized by ghosts like just like recently.
Well, have you been to New York? You might see some of them.
Yes.
It wouldn't be out of like character from New York.
Seriously, like one of them has like a massively long neck, and like one of them has like a huge head with like spiked fingers, and everybody's like, yay, they're the new Ghostbusters, we like these guys better. I'm like, how are you people forgetting what just happened here?
Larry overanalyzing a cartoon for children.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Who are these writers?
Yes. Continuity's way off here.
So I have no more hits or misses for it, but I thought generally the Real Ghostbusters was pretty good. Like I did, like I mean, as a kid, I remember watching it and thinking it was pretty good. Like I was never a huge fan of Slimer, but he kind of dominated the show a little bit here and there, but I still thought it was pretty good. Like it was.
Well, and he's now like their buddy. Like he's like a sympathetic character. Like he's like,
oh yeah. Because even in this one, I think he did something that kind of screwed them up.
Yes.
And then he's like, he felt the ghost felt bad, like Slimer felt bad for doing it and didn't want to get caught. Like so
he's more of a lovable character.
Yeah, he is very lovable. Like he does, and he loves to eat.
In the movies, he was not so lovable. He was kind of gross.
Yeah. So,
but now he's a lovable sidekick, because that's what 80s cartoons always had.
So of the 2, I liked Real Ghostbusters better than the Filmation Ghostbusters, but you were the opposite.
I actually really like the original. All right, sorry, the Ghostbusters based on the 1975 version. So to me, because it's Filmation, and Filmation I think did like
I think they did He-Man, didn't they?
Yeah, they did He-Man, they did Hero High, and like a bunch of like I really like the Filmation style in 80s cartoons.
Yeah, I do too.
It's much more slick.
Yeah.
Like the mouths move in time to the words. It's much more colorful. There's a lot more detail. I always really liked Filmation, and this version to me felt a little bit more like a Scooby-Doo.
I wrote that down actually as a thing. It had like
Yeah.
a Scooby-Doo feel to it.
Yeah, it felt kind of more like a Scooby-Doo mystery, which
Yeah.
I thought was really cool. They also gave this one a really good backstory. I mean, because this one actually needed a backstory because nobody would remember who's who. So it's like this one, it's essentially about there's been generations of Ghostbusters. So it starts out with like a father sort of passing on his knowledge to his son, and about here's how you become a Ghostbuster, and here's like this book of knowledge about being a Ghostbuster. And then this one also has like an actual villain called Prime Evil, which I thought
Oh,
was
that's right. Yeah.
which is a really cool name. So he's a continuing character. So it's like they're actually fighting Prime Evil, and then Prime Evil has his own like legion of other ghouls, which are really cool. Like each one, there's like a wolf man. One of them is a robot ghost. I don't know how robots come to
I
know.
found in that series there's a lot of like skeletons in it. There's a lot of like everything was made up of bones of
Yes.
like, and I'm like, is this like ghosts or is this like just like a boneyard? It's like,
Well, because their headquarters, all of their stuff, they had a television called the Skelevision, which was like literally looks like skeleton with feet, but it talked. Their telephone was like a bone phone.
yeah, it was like a skull head with like a phone on top of it.
And it talked, and their filing cabinets were all made out of bones and skeletons. So it was a bit darker, like a little bit darker version.
I'm not sure what they were up to, those Ghostbusters, like with their.
I'm not really sure where they got
I'm sure
all
there
the
was a
bones.
few bodies buried in the backyard of the
Yep.
Ghostbusters headquarters.
Yeah, but it was more involved. I thought like it was more like because they have this actual villain who they have to fight, and this villain gets trapped, and then like 1,000 years goes by, and the villain finally gets out of his crypt and decides to go back in time 1,000 years to 1980s to seek revenge on the Ghostbusters who contained him.
Yeah.
But it's okay because the Ghostbusters in 1980, the father had actually no, it was the monkey, the gorilla called Tracy. Tracy the gorilla had invented all of these like gadgets and things, and one of the things he invented was the Ghostbusters car that was actually a time machine. So the whole series, they could go back and forth in time and do like it was. I think there was a lot of thought put into it.
Except that the monkey, like one of the other characters is named Kong.
Yeah.
And the monkey wasn't called Kong. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. And the monkey doesn't talk.
No.
So I'm not sure. And the monkey for some reason is dressed up like Indiana Jones, and I don't really understand that either. But yet it was the monkey that like came up with all these inventions.
I didn't go bananas over it, but it was all right. So
that was a good one.
not really.
No.
All right, stop monkeying around with this whole thing.
All
I'm
right.
gonna just move on. And do you give a nay or an ape? Which do you give? It's like
I give it an ape. Is that what it is? I don't know.
Yes,
what an ape
I don't know.
is.
I'm really stretching this one out. So
Yes, we really are.
so dumb. So it was, Real Ghostbusters.
Real Ghostbusters still good.
Still good.
Still
I thought it was entertaining for what it was.
Yeah, it's good for the nostalgia. Like it's got all the nostalgia you want. So it's fun to watch because of the nostalgia. But just as far as like quality, like animation and really deep backstory and really cool villain, the Ghostbusters. I have to give the edge to Ghostbusters.
You gave 7 out of 10 bananas to the Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Oh, man, I gotta stop this. All right. Well, on that note,
yes,
that is our show for this week, and we'll be back in a few weeks with something else. Tons of great movies coming out in the next few weeks, and that. So we'll be doing that and heading ourselves through Christmas, and then we're gonna have our year-end show coming up soon as well. Yep. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna put on it so far this year. Like I don't like.
We've got one hot topic to discuss during our year-end review that you will definitely want to stay tuned for, because it's going to be heated. There may be fisticuffs.
There could be coming up, and I think coming up too this week is Hawkeye on Disney Plus this week. Starts on Wednesday. Right. I'm super excited about that. Probably by the time you're watching, it's probably already out. But I'm super excited about Hawkeye out this week. So as of this recording, I have not seen it. So I'm super jacked.
We will be talking about it when we do eventually see it.
Yes. So go on our socials, and I've actually been posting on there lately. Yes. So go on the socials, check that out.
We finally figured out how they work.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, maybe I should do this once in a while. So go on our socials, and we'll usually put new trailers and things up there if we can. And of course, we always have all our ridiculousness on there. And tell people about the show, get it out there, and we can all enjoy it together. And you can contact us at any time. So thank you so much for joining us this week on Loop and Larry Guardians of Geek, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.